Shalom Aleichem, we are learning a Sikha Parshas Re'eh Aleph in Chelek Yutes. This Sikha is based on the Farbrengen and Shabbos Parshas Re'eh Tavshin Chavav. In that Farbrengen, the Rebbe said one of the famous Maimarim of Anila Doidi V'Doidi Li, which the Rebbe then gave at Nakuntris in Tavshin Nun. Before the Rebbe gave the Maimar, the Rebbe said this Sikha that we learned. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see there's an incredible amount of footnotes. And in general, it works like this. Whenever there's footnotes in Teres Menachem, that means there are things that did not make it into Likutei Sichos from the original Sikha, and therefore they bring it here because this is what the Rebbe Farbrengen about. And this time it's quite extensive. Sometimes it's very little things, and pretty much the edited Sikha is very much what the Rebbe said, and this one is very different. There's a lot of things. And I can't focus on all of them because it's so much, but I'll focus on a few big ones. So let's go through the Sikha. The Sikha explains the Ein Anechi Neisem B'Dacho Klala. Targum Yonasan V'Chilufa. What's V'Chilufa? Because the truth is that even a Klala is a B'Dacha. Says the Rebbe at the Farbrengen. When we say Klala is a B'Dacha, it's not only like Rabbi Akiva, Koman the Avid Rachman Latav Avid, we know the famous Sikha, that whatever Hashem does is for good, that something later will come good, but rather the way Nachum Ish Gamzu says, Gamzu Latayva, this itself is good. But back to the Sikha, but it's a Chilufa B'Lashon Targum. And in the way the bracha comes into the world, but the Kavana Pnimius is Toiv and Bracha. Like it says in Tanya, says the Rebbe, the mashal of the king who goes and washes the dirt that a kid made, the dirty diaper of their child because they love them so much. So too, Hashem's getting into our dirt. So it's chesed, which is covered, amachusa, which is higher than chesed hagalui. Says the Rebbe in the Farbrengen, and this is the answer on the question of a yid, why there's so many holdbacks, manias v'ikuvim on Torah mitzvahs. It's just hard for me. Why? Why did Eibishter make it so hard? Mimanavshach seems to be a double-edged, it works against me. If Hashem wants me to do Torah mitzvahs, and Hashem is the balabas in the whole world, including my Daled Amis, then how is it possible that I have struggles? Says the Rebbe, this is what you have to know. You have to know everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not chas v'shalom that there's Hashem and there's another energy, dualism. But rather there's Toiv HaGalui and there's Chesed HaMechusa, which is higher than Toiv HaGalui. And this is the intention of the Yerida, starting from the general idea of the Neshama coming down to a guf. Even though all journeys are B'cheska Sakana, as the Yerushalmi says, how much more so the journey of the Neshama coming from Shemayim down to this world. But it's Yerida Tzarech Aliyah, so that you could get to the Maila of Chesed that's covered. And eventually you see that all the non-good things are only a test, as we said in Parshas Ekev, Menasa Hashem Alekeichem Eschem, and we say this in Parshas Re'eh, Hashem's testing, and Nisayim Miloshen Harama, picking us up, that through that you get elevated to a level higher than Ishtalshlus, and then you get koyach to do Torah, Niglech, Sidus, Kiyam HaMitzvos Behider, by first having Avodas HaTfilah, until it affects your Gashmis. Which I thought that's, like a very important Nekuda to take out of the Sikha. Continues the Sikha, that only in the Pasuk, V'nasatas HaKlala and our Eval, over there does the Targum use the word Melatataya because it wants you to, which is curse, because it wants you to have the Pula on the Nevesh Bahamis and Yetzer Hara. Then the Rebbe explained the Shaykhus to the Haftarah. And the Rebbe, interesting, said that Haftarah is the Kinuach. It's the dessert, the Farbrengen for Kriyas HaTorah. It's an interesting expression. It's the Farbrengen of Kriyas HaTorah. And the reason it came is because of the Gzeres HaMalchus. There was a time that we were not allowed to learn, so we read from Nevi'im, and the Rebbe sends to Encyclopedia Talmudis on the Erech of Haftarah. Fine. So in the Haftarah of Shevet Nechemta, over there it speaks the Haftarah L'Beis Yisrael, a lot of good, which you don't find in other Haftarahs. Says the Rebbe, you don't even find it in Haftarahs that you say when the Yidden are in the levels of Tzaddikim, which is between Pesach and Shavuos, and not even after Shavuos when you have the elevation and the mile of Matan Torah. Because Dafka happens in the Nisayan. That says the Rebbe, this is the Bechina and the Nisayan and the way the Eibishter works with us in a Maimed of Matzav, in a situation of Tisha B'Av that comes mitzat Chet, that even though Hashem, Rav Amar Oscha Hashem, it's so bitter that we left Hashem, Hashem gives us Rav Tov. Okay, so what do we see in Haftarah? The Seder is that first Hashem says to the Nevi'im, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Says the Rebbe, interesting, which Nevi'im does he say it to? Nevi'im of Yeshua, starting from Yeshaya and his friends that are full of Nechama, and therefore he's called Yeshaya from the Lashon Yeshua. Not like Nevi HaChurban, which is Yirmiyah, which comes from the word Mar. It's just fascinating ideas. As the Frierdiker Rebbe says, Yeshaya was in the time of Gilui. Yeshaya Navi was in the time of revelation. So Hashem says to Nevi'im, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Nevertheless, we say, Batomer Tzion, that the Nechama through the Nevi'im is not enough. And therefore it's considered Azovani Hashem. And therefore, Ani Asayed Alay Nechama, we're not comforted. The Rebbe said in the Farbrengen something powerful. The Rebbe says, even though it's Taka Nechama Amitis that comes from Hashem through the Nevi'im, but because Bani Matam Hashem Aleikeichem, so the Tachlis is we want to be connected and one with Hashem and hear the Nechama from Him directly without any intermediaries, even when Mashiach comes. Listen to this. Even when Mashiach will come and will go and he'll take us to Yerushalayim and build the Beis Hamikdash, the Yid will taina. The Yid will say, I'm not enough. I'm not sufficing with this. I want to be together with Hashem, Anna Umalka. Even when Mashiach comes, we're going to be saying that. And he says, an example for that you can find each day in your Avodah. You wake up in the morning and you chap that you have a guf in the Nefesh Bahamis, but the neshama is rak ba'apai. It's my nostrils. It hasn't fully permeated. So what do I say? It's not enough for me that I have a neshama ba'apai. I want moida ani lefanecha. I want the Eibishter without memutzaim. And then I start davening, Haidu Psuki de Zimra, all the 4 steps of davening, knowing that the goal is to reach the level of Shemon Esrei, to be one with the Eibishter. Anyways, the Rebbe finished off that comes Hashem and says, Anechi, Anechi, Umenachemchem. And the Rebbe finished off. From here, you show that the Yidden see that the going down and the Puranus are only a chilufa, which can only come through the Eibishter himself. Just a very, very powerful sikha in the Muga, and these little details add so many beautiful nuggets that I hope can make it even richer. L'chaim.